Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Really disastrous for a president
to even say
be unaware of the chief
It's
justice.
a ploy. It could be a strategy.
That strategy was
Backfired.
terrible strategy, because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, the news.
Welcome to The Advocate. Wow, it's our 10th edition already. And in typical Advocate tradition, we are poised to ask those hard questions and confront those hard truths. No holds barred. Though the elections have just concluded, Ireti is wasting no time making demands of the new governor. Boris is addressing the sexual performance of men in relationships. Must it be a matter of life and death? Ekene puts it to us that we are in survival mode and challenges. What do the tough do when the going gets tough? Chuka is linking our dilapidated structures with an abandonment of life. Might he be making a mountain out of a molehill? So we come to me. I'll be asking in typical on-PC manner, do women really want equality? Yes, you heard me correctly. Back in a moment. I believe this is a question we all need to ask ourselves. Feminists have been pushing the narrative that life as a woman is so much worse than it is for men. But is this really the case? Most of us don't want to go Dutch on dates, work dirty and dangerous jobs, get drafted if there is a war, and we certainly don't have to prove our ownership of our children to a court after a divorce. We don't want to play the role of provider or protector unless we have no choice. Men accept and take on these roles and responsibilities voluntarily, and so many of us take these sacrifices for granted. Should women be paid the same as men for doing the same work? Absolutely, but this debate is misleading. There are several reasons why men earn more. For one, they work longer hours and take less time off work. In Father and Child Reunion, For Our Rights, women provided an emotional womb akin to love. Men provided a financial womb that took them away from their purpose, loving and supporting the family. Men loved the family by being disconnected. Women love the family by being connected. Traditionally, women's role had the love advantage and the emotional advantage. If we're really serious about equality, then we need to first find out what life really is like for men. We also need to be talking about equal responsibilities alongside equal rights. And we definitely need to be having honest discussions on our biological differences. If we don't, we will get nowhere and keep complaining about trivial things like manspreading and wondering why we can't have it all, while believing men do. There you go, guys. What do you think?
Elaborate on the man spreading.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how that comes in.
It's there.
Thing now for against men. The truth of the matter is, there's no reason why two people doing the same work should not be paid the same thing. But are they doing the same work? Are they putting in the same effort into the work, the same time? And then, if are people going to agree and accept to do certain jobs, whether you're a woman or a man? Because as Uche has rightly said, the women run away from the hard tasks, the ones that are manually hard.
Okay.
Not mentally,
The physical.
I'm sorry, let me just come in before Ireti comes in, because I know Ireti is poised to jump in this one. I just feel that issues are being muddled up. There's equity, which of course you said, if you're doing the same job, you should be paid the same wages, which often happens anyway, that women are doing the same job. I don't think difference of time and effort is a function of whether you're a woman or a man. Women put in a lot of effort. Even using myself as an example, knowing the way people view women, and when they're employing you, they think, this woman comes with her children. I tend to go the extra mile not to take advantage of that. So I wouldn't really generalize and say, oh, women take time off work because you're a woman. So then the other issue of trying to make women prove a point by doing hard labor, you're a woman, so clearly you don't have the same strength as a man, and you're not trying to establish that you do. There are other areas where you make up for that. So I really don't think we need to be proving equality by assessing whether a woman can lift heavy burden or anything, because there are areas where the woman more than does her share of the work. Okay. And that's as much as I want to say.
I'll just add one more thing on that physical thing. You see, what I was talking with somebody a few days ago, and I said, we're animals, and we will always revert to some animalistic position when we're pushed to the wall. And I said to the person, until a woman can be as physical, rough, tough as the men will never agree those who are, it's not every man that's very sophisticated and all that, but they will always continue to think that.
To be British, you mean?
British, yeah.
No. I mean, I'm just correcting
yes.
or helping them along.
I'm wondering why should that be the standard? Because
we're animals and we keep forgetting that we are.
You can elevate your vision. I'm just trying to say, because when I was reading up about her passage, I came across a certain lady in America whom I think she worked under Roosevelt. I think her name was Frances something, and she was the one who, in a way, advocated for this welfare state system. And really, that's exactly what we should be looking towards, where a country is measured by how well they lift up the weaker parts. So, enable other people to perform at their optimum. Yes. So, women bear children. You're a product of a woman who bore a child. Exactly. But you also know that woman can be fulfilled if she's put in a situation where she can work and also look after the home front. And if you give her that enabling environment, some people even provide creches in their work environment, she'll probably outperform.
I don't even think that's what Uche is talking about. Uche, Uche, what do you really think?
Yeah, basically, what I'm talking about is...
No, what do you really think?
Think about what?
Do you think women want to be equal to men?
I actually don't think many women want to be equal in the sense that it has been pushed by the feminists. I was reading up about this thing, because even me, I sit there sometimes saying, what is all this whole equality? What are we really fighting for, And I went on this, and I discovered there's like a women equality political party, and they want equality on practically every level. And what I'm thinking of, the way I look at life, is that I feel like our roles should support each other. I don't believe that we should be fighting for equality in that sense. No, I don't think we should be doing that. I think we should just be looking at how we can complement each other. So, for instance, if I feel like if women are doing the whole, I want to be equal to man, I want to be all of those things, then we better get ready to pay our bills, as in when we go on a date, we better be ready to pay the bill on a date. There shouldn't be those things. We better be thinking, we better be opening the doors for men. If men can take it to a distance, are we ready for that? Okay. I think most women still want to maintain that they're women, and they want that attention and that love and care that comes from men,
Okay, so
I'm not up for all this hardened...
Here's what I'm hearing from you. I'm hearing a limited understanding and a narrow understanding of what feminism is about. Okay. Which is what typically happens when the word feminist is dropped down. Equal to is different to equal with. Very different. Right. Very, very different. This is not about the physical. It's very much about the fact that patriarchal structures have been harmful, not just to the growth and the progress of women, but also to men. And I will give you an example, since you use men as your example. Men are not invited to be vulnerable. They're told, man up, pay for the bills, do this, do that. Many men are thinking, I want to cry. I can't afford this. There are more men who are vulnerable, which is why men commit suicide, than there are men who are... No, there are more. I will argue this with you. There are more. Go and check the statistics. Men commit suicide. Absolutely not true, Chuka. Absolutely not true. That's why men die earlier. More men die earlier than women. That's why more men commit suicide. Because the societal structure, which are patriarchal structures, have put a lot of pressure on men, and therefore demeaning and devaluing women.
I have heard about men committing, more men committing suicide.
If you look at what patriarchy is the crime here. Patriarchy is the enemy here.
Wow.
To both men and women.
To both men and women. It's the enemy of society. That's what the problem is. The problem is not men. The problem is structures of patriarchy. You mentioned about children, right?
Well, I didn't actually.
No, you mentioned about kids.
Okay, in the quote.
In your intro, you mentioned about kids. Now, often a lot of men complain that when they go to family court, they make very good fathers, but the children often go to where? It will be handed more times than not, the woman will get custody. Who do you think created those laws? Men, based on patriarchy.
I think what's happening here is that the feminist message seems not to be, is a confusing message.
Lost in translation.
Yes.
Because many can't be bothered to read up about it.
And so, because a lot of the feminists are confused about what they really want about this message. And so that's why it is very confusing. You listen to Ereti, the message is different from when you listen to Chimamanda Adichie, you listen to some other people. So you get conflicting message, and so the message is not clear. It's like, we want equal status with men. Some it's like, we want to complement. Others says, look, no. What we just want is, we want a supporting role. So if the message is that confusing, then there's need first and foremost to look inward.
My own final point is this. When they were all arguing about women's tennis and men's tennis.
Yes, I came across a lot of that.
And how they should be paid equally. And I said, no way. There's no doubt that the man's tennis
is longer,
way engaging, better played,
longer.
Is it the engagement or the length?
Forget the longer.
Apparently they draw the viewership more than women's tennis.
That's because of the way it's been packaged over the years.
Hang on. Libros is right. They have to sit back and plan a better way of bringing these things forward.
What people choose to be deliberately misunderstanding feminism.
No.
It is deliberate.
Well, I need to close this out, but I have to disagree with that. I really do believe the feminist movement or the message is very confused, even for us women. Okay, I must say I thoroughly enjoyed that. Sit tight, Ireti will be doing some heavy lifting on the other side of the break.
You're watching The Advocate on Plus TV Africa. Time to take out the garbage. Finally, the elections are over and another term begins. The old guard remains custodian of the federal gates, while in Lagos, we have a new superintendent, albeit in the same old uniform. So the next question remains, what does this mean for you and I? Today, permit me to be selfish. You'll get your turn. And I want to talk about my number one priority. My number one priority from our Governor-elect, Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu. As a dweller and indigene of Lagos, my love of this city is unconditional. Yep, I really love Lagos. I love her with all her issues and imperfections, her sassy arrogance, sashayed by her accommodating spirit and unbreakable tenacity. However, this love affair has been traumatized by the D word. No, not divorce, I don't need laborious yet, but dirt. Over the years, consecutive administrations have made concerted efforts to both beautify and clean up this city. It worked. It wasn't great, but it was progressively getting better. As a jogger, I became enchanted by the Loma women. I enjoyed our good morning banter while I hobbled past them in my effort to achieve my goal, and they in turn would encourage me on with their kind and sometimes funny responses. "Mommy, ọ̀rẹ́ mi," was a greeting I looked forward to. My joy of witnessing them at work, sweeping and clearing the indiscriminate litterings of Lagosians, went beyond the ubiquity of their charisma. Their presence meant most of us could go about our daily business unhindered by piles of refuse or nasty pure water bags. We also got used to weekly refuse collections at our homes and businesses, not to mention the thousands of jobs it created. Then suddenly, in what seemed like the blink of an eye, no more street cleaners, followed by erratic refuse collections and random refuse dumps, leading to an outbreak of Lassa fever. Lagos had regressed to 1977 when it was voted, and I quote, the dirtiest city in the world. In a metropolis that's already characterized by daily challenges, this new state of being just wasn't good enough. Rubbish, instead of traffic, became the topic of conversations at beer parlors and dinner parties. And we all know how these issues are interconnected and interrelated with our daily existence, activities, and most importantly, life expectancy. So my call to action for our new governor is to make a clean Lagos his #1 and immediate priority above all else. After all, what's the point of a tourism, art, and culture master plan on a filthy, grimy, and frankly, vomitous canvas?
That's our call too.
That's a rather hard one.
That's all.
Is it not honest?
Yeah,
is it not
honest.
vomitous?
Yes. Before we go further, Ireti, you're not from Lagos. You're from Ikorodu.
Lagos is part of
It's
the
not
Ikorodu.
no.
Actually, it is.
You're talking about the dirty Lagos City.
No. I'm talking about Lagos State as a whole.
But we don't really know Lagos.
But we do. I go to Ikorodu. You may not.
Like these two want to
I
have a
go to
conversation with
Ikorodu. You may not.
themselves.
Yeah, we should just allow them.
But I think you're talking about Lagos here. This
No.
city,
I'm
the dirty
talking.
city.
No,
So
I'm
Ikorodu
talking
is
about.
a dirty-
Yes, Ikorodu is also filthy. Yes.
But I think it was quite good of Ambody to have tried to centralize the way rubbish was is disposed of, collected and
Okay,
disposed
remember,
of.
you like Ambody.
Yes, I do. Funny enough.
Yes, you're the only one.
Yes.
I don't
No, he's
mind
not
him.
the only
I don't have
one.
a
Then
problem
I'm
with
the
him.
only one
He's
that
very,
doesn't.
but the thing is, he didn't have either the
sense.
time, and perhaps there were a little bit of administrative problems that he had
A
with
little
it.
bit.
But I mean, don't forget that he was also frustrated towards the end when they blocked everything, and so all that had to do with Visionscape and collecting debt, they blocked it, and Lagos just went down the drain. And we're still there right now. We're waiting for Sanwo-Olu to come back to reactivate debt.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have to agree. I have to agree with Chuka. Let me say why.
I know Boris has got some good facts.
Okay, wait.
To bring in on this vision.
Before Libros
Not
comes
quite
in,
scale.
before Libros, can I support what you're saying? May I support it? Really, because from the research I came across, it seemed that the whole, and that's my beef with this topic, the whole debt thing, much as I agree, everybody wants debt off our streets, had become politicized. You know, and I could see that Visionscape were not the ghost workers they want to frame them as, because this is an internationally renowned company. And if my own interest now, observing the way things are panning,
look at me and Libros looking at
wait, let me land. Allow me to finish. Let me do like Ireti. Allow me to finish. Because the point I'm making is simply this, that whilst they were here, there's some news reports that I saw that Kenya and Ghana had come and signed a contract with them. So I'm curious to see if Kenya and Ghana manage to execute a good relationship with Visionscape, they will show up the politicians that are blocking road for progress. Because my mind went back to Richard Branson and his belly aching over the way the politicians were like madmen who were spoiling progress for him. And I think that's what's played out with the whole Visionscape thing again. Because if he said, look at Richard Branson, who came with an open heart to actually help our aviation industry, and still they managed to frustrate the guy. So you can imagine what some of these politicians who were frustrated that Visionscape had come and taken their bread and butter, you know, from the Loma and PSP. You can imagine, this is my own theory anyway, what they did to frustrate Visionscape.
Sorry, let me
come on, please, Libores,
let me set some records straight here, because I have had opportunity of being at the forefront of this Loma, the amendment of the laws, Visionscape, and all of the mumbo jumbo. Visionscape, I'm saying this on an international platform. Visionscape is not an internationally renowned
at all.
That's correct.
Visionscape was like
your
a
imagination.
We'll be watching Ghana and Kenya.
Was like a company packaged.
Yes.
Package for the deal.
Package for the deal.
To push out the PSIs.
No. Apart from that, Lagos generates 21 million metric ton daily. And so Visionscape didn't have the capacity to manage 21 million metric ton daily. Yeah. All they would have done, that's where Chuka talked about administration.
Centralizing.
All they would have done, Visionscape, another thing that was lacking in the plan was recycling. Visionscape would have just concentrated on recycling. And then allow the Loma, who already had structures on ground, to continue with the collection. Because the collection didn't start today. It started with Fashola. Started from Tinubu gradually, and then they phased out the cart carriers. And then they had structures on ground already. And it was a thriving private business.
So what do you say? Let me just ask this question. Sorry, Libros.
Yes.
I'm not doubting what
they were cart carriers. All these people who were collecting.
Yes. You had the cart carriers manual carriers.
But let me just ask, because unless I read wrongly, the people who worked under Loma, I saw a protest where they were saying that when they were working under Visionscape, they were getting paid their salaries on time.
No, let's know there are two issues here. There are two issues. What happened with Loma was that when they perfected the structures, government now partnered them. Government paid a certain percentage of the fee. And so what happened was government collects the fee and then adds what they are to pay and pay Loma. You know, the PSP, the PSP. You had Loma, you had PSP. And so, with those structures already on ground, people had invested trucks. Because at the point also, they gradually started phasing out those old trucks. And they were registering new trucks. So with those structures, when Visionscape was packaged, what they needed to have done was allow Visionscape handle certain areas. Because they said Visionscape was going to take the debt free. And recycle. And so, but it became overwhelming the moment they phased out once Loma and PSP. And so that was why you saw the huge of debt, because a city that generates 21 metric ton daily. And if you don't have the capacity to remove that waste consistently, if you leave it for 3 days, you will be overwhelmed. And when it became overwhelming that Visionscape was incapable, that was when you now saw the politics of it. And one very bad thing they did was they amended the law and gave only Visionscape. Only Visionscape the opportunity, even added the name of a private company in a state law. You know, so with all of that, it was as if something was fishy. And so when it was like a bubble waiting to burst. And when it busted, even the governor couldn't handle it.
Because he had literally upset the people. No, not just a lot. Ordinary members of the public. Look, I use myself as an example. Use your homes. I can imagine when they stopped collecting. Remember, it was regular, and after a while, it stopped being regular. Now you could go on the streets and you're seeing rubbish that never used to be there. And those were part of what happened as a result of Ambode trying to be autocratic.
We want to call on Olubenga's voice message, because he's someone in the know. He's someone who's worked with PSP. He's a spokesperson for the Association of Waste Managers of Nigeria, AWAM. And he had this to say on the whole issue of waste.
Regarding waste management, of course, currently, Lagos is said to be generating over 15,000 metric tons of waste per day. Unfortunately, less than 5% of this is currently being recycled. And of course, I also look forward to seeing a robust program that will bring about improvements of waste collection, transportation, and disposal. At the generation end, waste could also be sorted out, which is called source segregation. So that this will also bring about, some level of income for the waste generators, because the waste will now be seen from another angle, from being a waste into a resource. And that is why we say waste is not a waste unless you waste it. I also look forward to seeing the incoming government building more infrastructure that will support effective and efficient waste management. For instance, there are no landfill sites, there are no waste treatment facilities in Nigeria, in Lagos in particular. The facilities are not there. So I want to see more of the waste to energy, waste to electricity. For instance, in Sweden, waste are being converted into electricity, and they are recycling over 99% of the waste that they generate and they import. So less than 1% of the waste is being landfilled, and I want to see Lagos moving to that level too.
So we've argued about Visionscape and Loma and all of that, but how are you planning to get this message to the governor?
Governor Sanwo-Olu. What we're asking now is, we actually, for me, my biggest worry is it a priority, number one? Is it in the top priority? And what is your plan, and how quick do you intend to implement that? Otherwise, I assure you, if you don't treat waste as your number one and immediate priority, you will end up with a lot of outbreak of diseases. That's what I'm telling you. And those of us who jog won't be able to jog. And there'll be an end to Lagos Marathon. Should I go on? No. Forget your tourism.
You wrapped it up in your prologue when you said you can't attract anything to Lagos if you don't treat deaths in Lagos. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine you'll never look at rubbish in the same way again after that. Time to snatch a brief break, and when we return, Liberas will be tackling matters emanating from the other room.
Yeah.
You're watching The Advocate on Plus TV Africa. Time to liberate the man. Every responsible man wants to satisfy his family and his wife in terms of providing for their basic need and also satisfying the wife in the room. But doing this at the expense of the man's life is what I want to condemn. It's a common experience these days that some women openly talk about how bad their spouse are in bed, and most times the woman makes life difficult for the man by throwing abusive words at him. It's also common to see a lot of product being openly advertised and marketed for enhancement of a man's sexual performance. If I may ask, is sexual performance the basic of relationship or marriage? What really is at the heart of your union? Is it the marital bed? Why has this become such a focal point in marriage today? Why do men allow themselves to feel responsible for this state of affair to the extent of putting their lives on the line? Is this not just about mocking God who created you? At the end, you may die satisfying a woman. Why does the women not feel they have a role to play in resolving the matter at hand? It takes two after all. It's important to note that a man's sexual performance depends on a lot of factors, such as stress, diet, medical conditions such as diabetes, and drugs such as antihypertensive, and as well relationship problems, which issues may well make for another advocacy entirely. Men, please do not harm yourself in any way by trying to prove that you are a man. Don't assume that sexual performance or non-performance defines your masculinity. Resist the narrative being imposed on us by society. Women also, you have a major part to play in reversing this narrative, which could ultimately amount to a matter of life and death. Research has proven that performance-enhancing drugs have major side effects, including heart attack, sudden vision loss in one or both eyes, sudden hearing diseases, or hearing loss. Don't die in the line of duty, putting your life on the line for what is merely one aspect of your crucial life in the home. Let's ensure that we put things in proper perspective before it's too late. And what do you think, guys?
Yeah, you know what?
Look how Uche jumped into that one.
Because you know how this really even goes back to what I was talking about, that we always look at it and be thinking that the men have it better than we do.
But look at what this man is going through. These are part of the problems of
he may not be going through the real problems per se, but I mean the pressure.
This is part of the downside of patriarchy.
I get
this
a lot
is from
of
patriarchal systems.
You're right.
Honestly.
Recently, I have friends who called me from America. I have friends who called me from America, from Germany, from Europe. All they want is, please, can I get Abu Jersey?
Yeah.
You know, all kinds of Magani Buratashi and...
Madhu? This topic is so timely. Why do you need it? Do you need it? No, this topic is so timely because only this week I heard about the billionaire who, decided, I think he's a 60-year-old or around that age, finally decided that he wanted to do a penis enlargement, and he died whilst doing it. Yeah. So that really tells you,
in spite of all his money,
a billionaire, exactly, who should be able to just get women dancing around him according, to the state of things, dancing around him willy-nilly, blah, blah. They shouldn't even be caring about that. But he seemed to feel that much pressure to take it to the surgery, table and then do himself over. So I really, really feel for you guys, and I really think, yes, I do.
I don't feel for them.
I want to hear what Chuka's got to say on this. Chuka, what have you got to say on this?
Chuka, so masculinity has nothing to do with all of that.
This is like them and us.
You're a liberated man.
Which part of him is liberated?
Sorry, I forgot to mention though. I'm very surprised at this, and I think I'm surprised that you men feel this pressure because I'm not aware of many women, mature women. I think what happens is when you men go for these young girls, when you 60-year-olds go for these 20-year-olds and you're trying to impress them.
Let
I thought that I would have thought truly, that this was not really a problem. you know, but that there's no real problem. There will always be one or two problems here and there. But I now begin to agree that there is a problem, because I'm driving on the road. The other day I went to water. Somebody was shouting on a microphone near the market when we were in traffic. What was he shouting about? Okay, it's probably religious. It wasn't. He was talking to the men to come for various products.
Then do what?
Everywhere I drive,
enhance the performance in the other room.
In the other room.
I wanted you to finish your sentence.
Yeah, you know. And I hope that man he's also doing his own. You know, the man who started the other room. Oh. So anyway, while we're at it, I was quite, you know, everywhere I go now, I see adverts. Everywhere. They're written on the road, on the walls, in magazines, newspapers, everything. It's amazing. There must be.
So where is the pressure coming from?
Let me tell you.
Let me just come in.
What started all of this, you know? The metropolitan nature of our society these days. You're in traffic, you know, and you get home, pressure. And so you get home, all of those pressure also adds to limiting, you know, your performance.
Yeah.
And so some people, instead of them to understand that these are some of the associate issues, they would rather want to, you know, use performance enhancement drugs, you know, rather than, you know, take the natural way of, you know, either rest or eat properly to achieve, you know,
maximum performance.
So, allow me to come in, and honestly, as funny as it is, Liboros, I'm so totally in agreement, and Uche, you see, you know, earlier I said to you, I said you're looking at feminism from a very narrow point, right? And how the biggest issue we have here, the biggest disease we have in the world is patriarchy and patriarchal structure. Liboros is so.
She's been given a window.
No, it's very related. Liboros is so totally, and I've always been aware of the fact that there's too many pressure on men. I was arguing with you earlier about the fact that men are vulnerable, but they're not allowed to show their vulnerability. There's also that thing where a man is not allowed. How many men will come to their next man and say, "Oh, you know what? There's a problem down there, mate. What do you do?" Maybe some of your friends are saying, "Send me Agbo," because it's a subliminal messaging. But we women will be like, "Oh, you know what? I found this in my breast, you know, how does it feel for you, whatever." We're much more, we're more open to each other in that way. Now, going back to this whole sort of using performance enhancement drugs, it's society. He's correct. Stress. Look, many men, it's the ego, and men, society brings it onto men, and men bring it onto themselves. The ego, the masculinity, I must be the man, I must produce. And all of it is so wrong. Simple fitness. What causes a penile erection? Blood flow. It's that simple. All it is blood flow.
No, but
right? So if you get fit.
I also need to correct quickly.
I'm waiting to comment.
You find that, you find that also. There's also the pressure from some women. Make me feel like a woman.
Oh, yes, I agree.
Make me feel like a woman.
Yes,
you know? So even the older women
don't feel like women. Can I come in? Can I come in? Because I was asking the question, and permit me to be naive on this. You know, why is it that they even use the expression performance? Why is it a performance? So that's my problem with it. My problem is that they're taking something that is meant to be an extension of an intimate relationship, a natural extension, which is why it's called lovemaking, and turning it into a performance, which is why a lot of people fall foul. Even the woman, I'm coming. Permit me to be naive. I'm coming. I know you have that to say, but I'm still taking it back to what I believe should be at the heart of it. And because of that psychology of being performing, of course you're going to have issues already. Because for me, it's something that if you had a proper relationship with someone, you could even work through these issues because they could be psychological. Exactly. And you know, and what comes to mind? What comes to mind as well is because when I was doing on radio parts of Nigeria, the way women and men talk about their sexual relationships is almost like a contract. You know, the woman is saying, "I want." The man says, "Oh," they even quote scripture. You should make your body available to. And I'm thinking, what kind of woman will even feel relaxed enough to enjoy that relationship? You know, and you know, like Kylie Minogue, that's a song that came to mind. You know, what is love without the
oh, Christ. So
that's the essence of where I'm going.
I get the whole thing about performance.
Yes.
But honestly, when you keep saying, can we just call it
relationship,
love, sex?
No, but it's still there's a purpose behind it. It's not
Liboros is talking. Liboros is talking about
But it's also talking about it in the context of a relationship.
Wives are not beginning to talk about husbands.
He's not just talking about sex. In the context of a relationship.
Allow me to finish, because I know you are comfortable giving it different names.
Okay.
The actual act is sex, and when it happens within a relationship, then it becomes lovemaking. So he's talking
about it in the context of a relationship.
He's talking about the act, which is the performance. Right? That's what you're talking about. You're talking about the, and you're talking about the fact that you're talking about the fact that no, because that's what I hear you. You're talking about the fact that men are overwhelmed with the pressure to perform in the bedroom, right? And that's what I'm saying. So it's not about necessarily lovemaking, because if it's lovemaking, there are different aspects to lovemaking.
You didn't hear my link. But you didn't hear my. That's what I'm saying. You didn't hear. Let me just make the point. But just bear with me. Let me make the link again for Reti, and then Libras can come in. The reason I made that link in the first place is to say, and I don't know if you heard me, that the reason people are falling foul of this performance is because they haven't understood that the performance is within a relationship. And if you're just performing, then of course you have many psychological hurdles to jump. But if you were within a relationship, then it's easier to navigate those issues, because there's understanding, there's love, and those things oil the wheel.
You see, another thing is, quickly I'll say this so that because of time, so I'll go to social media. Another thing is that when the makers, in one of our episodes, Chuka talked about, pushing a narrative. So when the makers of these drugs want to push the narrative, they give the impression that with this, you are superhuman. With this, when your man has this, it makes you feel more like a woman. And so it's now built around, you need to take these drugs, forgetting that also societal pressure, and that all there is to sex is not all there is to relationship.
See, he's talking about in a relationship.
And so relationship has, a lot much more than just the sex. So the sexual aspect of it is what the concentration is on now. And that for you to achieve maximum happiness in a relationship, once you have this, once the sexual part of it is fulfilled. And that's why you hear the woman say, make me feel like a woman. The man says, oh, I made her feel like a woman. But at the end of the day, you still see them quarreling. You still over little things in spite of, that aspect.
Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Really disastrous for a president
to even say
to be unaware of the chief
justice.
It's
a ploy. It could be a strategy.
That strategy was
very
terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news, and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, the news.
Okay, time to hear from you and to get your take on our discussions. Deji Ayeni says, concerning Chuka's topic, brilliant delivery, but please upload this program to YouTube for us in exile. Deji, you can catch up on all our episodes on www.plustvafrica.com/The Advocate. Chuka's presentation is certainly stirring up some responses. As Rita Thaddeus Adaba says, many congratulations, Chuka. Remain fearless. Speak truth to power, as I know you would. You don't hear I'm Chuka. Uzo says, I'm really enjoying the Advocate documentary series. Thanks. Thank you, Uzo, for letting us know. Concerning the challenge that last week's episode would ignite some fire in the soul, Grace Cookie says, ignited in mine, and am I the only one who scans the news periodically, searching for some hint of a court case? Grace Cookie, you're not alone. Do keep your comments coming in on Instagram and Twitter on @PlusTVAfrica, #TheAdvocateNG, and on Facebook on +TVAfrica, #TheAdvocateNG. We look forward to hearing from you. Let's go for that quick break, and when we return, I will activate survival mode. You are watching The Advocate on +TV Africa. Strap up. We'll shortly be navigating some rugged terrain. The mood in Nigeria seems to be one of survival of the fittest, with what some might term a potential 4 more years of same level or lower level politics amidst rising poverty and high unemployment. What one politician predicted as being an impending social cataclysm. What really are the tough meant to do when the going gets tough? Survival mode activated came to mind recently when I was told about how after hours of queuing at the toll gate, the traffic on one side of the toll gate proceeded to use the other side as their exit, thus causing major mayhem. Think of the Titanic and what would have been the mood when its occupants knew they were going down for sure. And ask yourself, would you rather go down at the top of the topmost mast of the ship, having stepped on heads to get there, or somewhere on deck performing some noble rescue mission? One reason why my love affair with Nigeria will never come to an end is because Nigerians are refreshingly empathic, even when they're asking irritatingly mundane questions like, how was your night? We have a childlike faith and incredible optimism in the face of humongous odds. I count it an honor to be identified as a Nigerian almost all of the time. After all, what makes life worth the living or surviving? It is not the acts of lust and a grasping after life at all costs, but rather the acts of love and a laying down of one's life in the midst of the dust, the scum, and the harsh Nigerian sun. And so with this advocacy, I implore you, even if we're going down, show acts of kindness, show acts of love and mercy, as this will transcend the struggle of life anytime, any day. I've gone into my poetic mode again.
So that's your
I think you're a pastor
mode
today.
Yeah. It's like a sermon, right?
You see, when we continuously look at people that are always in the news, like the politicians and all that, and what they do, it's very difficult for people to become to show acts of chivalry or what's the act?
Kindness.
Patriotism, kindness, and all that. I think that we will step on heads to give up at the top of the mast of the ship. First of all, that's human nature.
Exactly.
By the way.
Exactly.
So it's not even Nigerian or anything. It is human nature.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure anybody will not
capable
do that.
of that.
Well, I want to come in here because exactly what you said, I loved it. I'm coming from a Christian perspective. When all this debacle called an election happened and the stress of it, I was so disappointed, I was heartbroken, you name it. I suddenly said to my mom, you know what? I'm taking my eye off this. I'm looking to God. I'm going to keep my focus on Christ, and so therefore I'm not going to let my environment, my external environment, dictate how I'm going to act or how I'm going to be. I'm just going to keep my focus on him and therefore let him lead me in how I'm going to act and relate to people and all of that. So funnily enough, now I'm probably the most cheerful most cheerful person in my house now.
Yes, I agree it is good to be happy. I agree it is good to look at the positive side. But fixated on the positive side alone will not, clean out the negative.
Correct.
Take the elections. That had been our consistent problems. Every year we conduct elections, right from 1999, it is the same problems that we have been having with our elections that we'll still have even 4 years from now. Because after the election, we all go to sleep. Oh, it didn't yes, it didn't work out, but we can't kill ourselves. God is in control. And so we go to sleep. We forget that there were problems that needed to be solved. If only we sit back, look at these problems, even in our anger mood, and say, I want to pour out my anger at solving this problem, we'll be far removed from where we are today than,
No, I appreciate what you're saying, but I wasn't saying that I
take your eyes off the practical things.
Off the problem or anything. I'm just saying that Ekene's point was that we shouldn't step on each other. We shouldn't now suddenly become so aggressive and evil to one another, just, grabbing and not caring about our fellow man, not having any compassion or kindness. Yeah, because, when it becomes survival mode, it's about survival of the fittest. Yeah. So that means that the toughest, the strongest, the more capable will trod on the less. That's her point. She's saying that as we're trying to get where we want to get to, we should still show some kindness. We should still support each other. Yes.
And
that's the point that I understood it.
I think if we're being totally sincere, and I think Chuka already touched on it. There is that natural human instinct. The natural survival human instinct is actually to protect self first.
Yes.
Think about it. Even the planes that you talked about, right? What do they say? When it comes down, look
Save
after yourself first before the children. So exactly. So we have to be honest with ourselves in that sense.
Yeah, but that's why she's advocating against it, because she's kind of like telling you switch from your natural instincts.
But you can't advocate against something that is human nature. What you can say is perhaps we need to expand our love a little bit more, because Uche, if there's fire here right now, right? If there is fire in this building right now, we are all going to run through that door. Right? When we get outside, we're going to say, oh, who is missing? Who is missing? You're going to grab, only after that. Yeah. You're going to grab. So what I'm saying is, it's not a problem.
That's why you have heroes.
I was just about to say, it's not a problem with being Nigerian. Like, that's why I said,
may I come in? Sorry, may I come in? Oh, we love you. Let me just make this point, though. I was actually bigging up Nigerians, because I'm saying that this is something that is intrinsic to us. A bit like what we were saying last time when we were talking about how we look after our own little republic. I'll give you an incident. When I was in the UK looking for my citizenship, and I took all my children, and I had to wake up at God knows what time just to get out things processed. I got into the embassy, and the British way, unfortunately, for those of you in Britain, you can come back on me at this, is very almost regimented and sometimes inflexible. So they'll tell you, I'm sorry, the same message, I'm sorry, I can't help you, I'm sorry, and they just keep rolling. And it's like you're talking to a robot. I'm sorry, I can't help you, I'm sorry. When I told one lady, oh look, I have 5 children, it's not my fault you have 5 children, it's not my fault. And she's really angry that this black woman comes to England to have 5 kids, and I'm thinking, this one is not a human being. I almost broke down in tears. But once I got into the Nigerian embassy, come and see humanity, they carried my baby. They could see I was distressed, because these children were tantruming, I couldn't control and I had woken up very early, taking them out of school, this one carried baby for me, this one, mommy, are you okay? And suddenly I felt like I was amongst human beings. Yeah. And I'm saying that that's what distinguishes us from a lot of people. That, we suffer every day, but you find someone who look you in the face. It's ragged, and they're asking you, how was your night? And you can laugh with them. And that's why I love Nigeria so much. And I wouldn't go anywhere in the world, even if you bought a mansion for me.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm saying we need to be sincere with ourselves, because as we always say, there are good parts to us. And there are good parts to us as a people, and there are bad parts to us as a people.
Well, I have to snatch it from you there. There's much more mileage on that one, certainly. While we pause for reflection, after all, Ireti says it was a sermon, after that discussion, Chuka is waiting on the other side of the break to unveil some ugly realities.
You're watching The Advocate on Plus TV Africa. We're about to take a hard look at our surroundings. I'm privileged to have grown up first in Benin City and then Lagos. My family moved to Lagos when I was 12 years old. At that age, I was already more than sure I would study to be an architect. I observed buildings, drew them, actually thought about them, studied building plans wherever I found one, including any made for my parents. Lagos was a serene place in 1977 when I arrived. Even though many would still complain at that time, they did not realize how good they had it. The National Theatre was a new icon. The International Airport was another. Ilukbeju was a beautiful area with agreeable buildings. Ikoyi was serenity. Victoria Island, newer than Ikoyi, was a different kind of serene. GRA Ikeja and GRA Apapa were wonderful. Design language was never really bombastic. Shall we just say that there was more class and good taste? Greater respect for history. And this is what now dismays me, no respect for the past. Not anymore. Victoria Island was raped and dumped. Ikoyi is now a mass of confusion. Lekki is the worst kind of sprawl that we could wish for ourselves. People with no taste refurbish a building worth keeping for posterity, destroying its very essence and feeling proud. Clients are stupidly arrogant, architects are stupidly ignorant and lazy. Design work has little or no intellectual basis. Students in university are being led blindfold into the profession. History is described via the buildings and relics of time. What will be the historical legacy of the late 20th century and early 21st? What would be our contribution? The lost race, that's what we are. So, student, teacher, designer, and client. 4 categories and no taste. What will become of our landscape? The villages are now absurdly ugly. Abuja buildings will prove in time to be just like everywhere else, a mess. There are very few events, talks, lectures, and seminars that address this problem. Designers simply do not care and will not attend. Believe this, some actually feel there's nothing wrong. Why do we have no taste? What happened? Non-architects, say something.
Chuka,
that was direct. Oh, good jokes. Non-architects, say something.
That was talking to us. But I
talking to us.
I don't want professional advice.
No, I gave your topic a lot of thoughts. Actually, out of all of them, it really got me thinking a lot, because I was trying to see the connection between human, do you say, degradation and architectural dilapidation.
So related.
Yeah, and I just sort of thought to myself, okay, let's imagine that, you know, if people care for the environment and there's a sense in which you're instilling a sense of self-worth in the way, there's the connection between the way you look after your environment and the value you instill in yourself. Even your children growing up in an environment that is cared for, and it doesn't have to do with money. That's really what came to my mind. It just has to do with caring enough and seeing yourself as a valuable human being and paying attention to the finer things in life, not just chasing money. So I feel that corruption has somehow played a part in the way we perceive life, where you're chasing money as an end rather than seeing life and the value of life in the... So for example, I thought of my grandfather's house, you know, and that, you know, going back there, it's almost like we got the impression that he built it with his own hands, even though clearly people helped him. He even had the inscription, East-West, home is best, on top of it. And you know, you remember the courtyard, you remember the kitchen, you remember the clay pot, you remember the pit latrine, but there was an orderliness, there was a thought given to the way it was structured. And it leaves you with that sentiment of, here's somebody who cared enough about family life, about, you know, some of those things where we gather around and we, you know, under the moonlight, we do Bible study, whatever we did, you had a sense of family and togetherness. Whereas now, you don't get that feeling. You know, houses are built, there's hardly any compound. It's built almost to the wall. You know, people are copying other people, so like you say, a lot of money, even those who have money don't have a sense of what they're trying to achieve when they're building their homes.
But Chuka, what is wrong with all of this building? I want to... what's wrong?
As a non-architect.
Oh my God, they're hideously ugly, especially those lecky ones.
No, what's wrong with all of this building?
I started listing.
What is wrong with them, I think, is first, they're not related to our weather and climate, and that's just on that. Let's face it, buildings do many things for people. Keeps you safe from weather and climate, so rain, sun, whatever. A lot of what we're doing is tiny windows. That no compound is very important, because with a hot climate like we have, we ought to have bigger gaps between neighbors, and houses, we don't, because we build up to the limit we're allowed to. In fact, the limit is poor. We need to re-legislate, bring it down from 3 meters to about 6. And look, if we see, we've got this impression that the land you buy is totally available to you to build.
Even schools don't have playgrounds anymore.
That shouldn't be correct. It should be available to you to produce a micro city of your own within that plot, which will then extend to the whole urban city. So we need space. So it's not all about the actual livable, internally livable space. Then, in terms of ugliness, I know that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but I honestly believe that there are certain things that transcend beholders.
Yes.
Almost everybody will accept that something is not.
You know why I asked this question? Sorry.
Yeah.
You know why I asked this question? Yeah. I needed, our viewers to understand.
Yes.
You know, where.
Not because you didn't understand.
No, I do, because it seems to, be in agreement on this topic. And so when we're all in agreement like that, there's a tendency for people to
assume.
Exactly. So because really, I've had the problem also, most especially when we apply for building permits. In some cases, permit is granted. What is eventually built is different from what is permitted, subject to how you can spread the good news around. And so, really, and so I've asked the question someday. I said, all of these buildings, if we have a proper legislature, sometimes you can accommodate, you can accommodate everybody from Maryland to Obanikoro all the way to Jibo. You can accommodate all of them in Obanikoro if we have proper planning. You don't need to. But you find out that everybody wants to build their small cubicle. So there are no proper mortgage plans. There are no housing plans. So we buy houses like yams in the market or tomato in the market. So anybody that can buy, you buy. and you buy a piece of land, you want to maximize. And then in some cases, to even the people that are giving approval, the builders that are granting approvals, what really are they looking out for? I traveled to Atlanta and I saw, a new area. They were developing the area. And I found out that they had, just like they did with Banana Island, they had constructed all the infrastructure that they need before even mounting the properties. Yeah, so there were a lot of spaces, you had trees, you had, but here, even those trees, some of those trees, people will sell them. We are selling drainages as a plot of land. We are selling canals as plot of land. So there's really a lot that we need to do.
Yes.
The once beautiful GRAs, those expanse of land. Now, even people that we allocated these properties, they apportion them in plots.
Yeah.
In plots.
It's all about making maximum money.
Yes, all of those, you apportion them in plots. And until, it's not us. You builders will have to, the architect and the builder will have to kickstart this process so that people will really understand, the ugliness in this.
So what I want to say is, what I love, I really do love architecture. And I made a note. I said architecture is the language of a society that orchestrates the culture, behavior, and order of a people. And that's what these houses are not doing. That's what the buildings we have nowadays. And that's just to capture it for our viewers. That's what the buildings now, that's what the likes of Lekki are not doing. Lekki is not a family environment. It's a concrete jungle. It's all a concrete jungle. A family environment, like you all said, is where, children can play and orchestrate, where you're going shopping in this part, you're going for business in this part, you're going for home in this part, you're going for education in this part. It's just,
so is it our legislation?
Oh yes, there's so many aspects.
But Chuka pointed to 4 people. You had the client, you had the architect, you had the...
And then who?
There were 4 people.
There were 4 students, teachers, that is school, and then out here, the actual professionals and the client.
I just want to teaching?
But if you have a regulation, you see, law regulates society.
Yes.
If you have a regulation and those that implement the law insist that this is the structure, the school will fall in line, the teachers will fall in line, and even the owners, the clients will fall in line. The architect and the builders will have no option.
Like for instance,
sorry, quickly, look at the building that just collapsed in Lagos Island, killing how many children. This is a building that was marked for demolition, but it was still being occupied and used by a school.
I think it's still that trying to squeeze everything possible out of and not value life enough.
If you have the right laws in place, then regardless of what anybody wants to do,
who is enforcing it?
That's the point. We need to get those laws enforced.
The laws
that's
and
really
the enforcement.
Because then that will be, what controls.
Well, thank you, everybody. That was a loaded session. A lot to assimilate and possibly even to act upon. In the meantime, you can always catch up with us on social media, where the conversation is ongoing. Twitter and Instagram at Plus TV Africa, hashtag The Advocate NG. Facebook, Plus TV Africa, hashtag The Advocate NG. Let's keep advocating for a better society. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
It's disastrous for a president to be unaware of the chief justice.
It's a ploy.
It could be a strategy.
That strategy was very terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news, and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, the news.